Hi, this is Math Just in Time, and today we're going to be working on solving equations using multiplication. So before, whenever we had addition or subtraction, we did the opposite. If we had addition, for example, and we needed to get rid of the 4, we would subtract it. We subtract it from both sides, and this would cancel, and we would be left with this. If we had a minus 4, then we needed to add 4 to both sides, and these would cancel, and we would be left with this. So we need to do the opposite. So if it's addition, we need to do subtraction. If it's subtraction, we need to do addition. So if it's multiplication, what do we think we need to do? Well, let's look at a problem. Okay, so if we have this, we have 2x is equal to 10. So what is this saying? This is saying 2 multiplied by x is equal to 10. So we're multiplying those two together. So in order to get rid of it, we need to do division. Very good. So we're going to divide by 2 on both sides. So we've got 2 divided by 2, which is 1, and x. But we don't write 1x, right? We just write x. We assume that the 1 is there. And so if we have x is equal to, and we have 10 divided by 2 is 5. And so let's see. Just like whenever we had addition and subtraction, we can always plug it back in to see if we got the right answer. So if our original question was 2x is equal to 10, and we plug 5 in, we would be saying 2 times 5 is equal to 10. And this is right. Very good. So let's try this one. So we have 4 times x, or we say 4x, is equal to 16. So we are multiplying, so we're going to divide. We're going to divide by 4. We're going to divide by the coefficient. That was a term that we learned back. And we're going to divide both sides by 4. What you do to one side, you have to do to the other. So if we have 4 divided by 4, that's 1. So we're just left with x. These kind of cancel. Is equal to 16 divided by 4, which is 4. So let's see. Now we can always plug this back in to see if we got it right. So we had 4 times 4 is equal to 16. And that's right. Very good. So let's try this example. We have 5x is equal to 3. So let's see. If we have 5 times x, and we need to get rid of the 5, we're going to divide by 5 on both sides. And so we're left with x is equal to 3/5. And is that okay? Yes, it is. A variable can be any number, whole number, positive number, negative number, a fraction. It can be any number. So this is, well, is this right? We should probably check it. So let's see. We had 5 times 3/5, because the 3/5 comes up here, is equal to 3. So we can change this into a fraction, 5 over 1, and multiply it through. So we have 5 times 3, which is 15, and 5 times 1, which is 5, is equal to 3. And how many times does 5 go into 15? 3 times. So it is right. You can always check it. Now this problem is a little bit different. We have a negative 6x equal to 12. So how do we get rid of the negative sign? Well, that's a good question. If we have a negative number and we multiply it by a positive number, it's still negative. But if we have a negative number and we multiply it by a negative number, then it becomes positive. So it's the same thing with division. So we know we're going to have to divide each side by 6. But if we want to get rid of that negative sign, we have to take a negative number and divide it by a negative number. So we're going to divide both sides by negative 6. So what ends up happening, this ends up going to 1, which gives us x. And it's equal to 12 divided by negative 6. Now, it doesn't matter if the negative is on the top or the negative is on the bottom. the whole number is negative. So this is the same thing as saying negative 12 over 6. So this whole thing is negative. So if we have 12 and we divide it by 6, we're going to get 2. And there's a negative. So let's see. We've kind of had some confusing things in here because we had some negative numbers. So let's check it. We've got a negative 6 multiplied by a negative 2 is equal to 12. Well, it's negative 6 times negative 2, 12? Yes, it is. Very good. So just remember, when you divide by a negative number, if it's negative on the top and it's negative on the bottom, it will get rid of that. And it doesn't matter where the negative sign is, on the top or the bottom, the whole number is negative. Let's do another one that's like this. So we have a negative number in this example too. We have a negative 3x is equal to 9. So we know we're going to divide by 3, okay, on both sides. We know that, but we have a negative over here. We don't want to be left with a negative x. We just want to be left with x. So we're going to divide by a negative 3 because a negative number divided by a negative number is a positive number, just like multiply. So here we've got this. These cancel out. We're left with x is equal to 9 divided by negative 3 is negative 3. And let's check it. So we've got negative 3 multiplied by negative 3 is equal to 9. And that's right. So what if we have something like this? A negative x is equal to 4. Well, first I'm going to show you technically what happens, and then I'm going to show you a trick so that you can do it. But first I want to show you why the trick works. Well, if this is a negative 1, which we assume it to be because we don't write it that way, let's treat it like it was any other number. If it was a negative 4, like before, or a negative 6 or negative 3, we would divide by that negative number. And so then the negatives, you're going to do that on both sides, and the negatives would cancel out. The negatives would cancel out, and you'd be left with x is equal to 4 divided by 1, which is 4, and it's negative. Interesting. We started with this. Well, let's first check it. If we had a negative x and it's a negative 4 is equal to 4, a negative times a negative is positive. So this is right. We did get it right. So if we started out with a negative x is equal to 4 and we ended up with an x is equal to negative 4, there's a neat little trick here. Because you divide by negative 1, all you have to do is switch the signs. So if we had a negative x is equal to 3, I think we had that earlier, then, or something similar, then we can switch it. And then we know x is equal to negative 3. You can get rid of the negative on this side and move it to the other side. And that's a little trick, but we can only do that because we're going to divide by negative 1 on both sides, which gives us x is equal to a negative 3. So if you want to divide, if your teacher asks you that says that you need to show your work, make sure you do it this way. If not, you could just flip the sign.